Hello friends, so today we will discuss about foundation paper 2. We will go through 4 or 5 important questions in this paper. These questions are the most important ones as we think. I hope you will understand and you will get some best tricks and answers and points to help you in examinations. For more questions you can go through the PDF. The first topic which we will cover today is educational psychology. What is educational psychology? Its aims, scope, educational psychology in the field of education, its contribution, its curriculum also. Let's start. What is educational psychology? Educational psychology is one of the main branches of psychology dealing with the problems, process and products of education. It is an attempt to apply the knowledge of psychology in the field of education. Here we try to study human behavior, particularly the behavior of the learner in relation to his educational environment. In other words, educational psychology may be defined as the branch of psychology which studies the behavior of the learner in relation to his educational needs and his environment. What is basically educational psychology? Educational psychology is the branch of psychology which deals with the study of human behavior, in particularly in respect to the behavior of learner and his relation to the educational environment. Educational psychology has been defined by various psychologists and scholars. Some of them are discussed below. According to Skinner, educational psychology is that branch of psychology which deals with teaching and learning. The definition given by Skinner considers educational psychology to be psychology of teaching and learning. That is, psychology applied in the field of education for improving the methods and products of the teaching-learning process. Education in its applied form is centered around the process of teaching and learning, and it is this which helps the teacher in better teaching and the learner in better learning. So, what does Skinner say about educational psychology? He says that educational psychology is the branch of psychology which deals with teaching and learning, जो सीखने और सिखाने की साइकोलॉजी से को पढ़ने में मदद करता है, वही एजुकेशनल साइकोलॉजी है. What is now another definition was according to Crow and Crow. Educational psychology describes and explains the learning experience of an individual from birth through old age. And Crow says that educational psychology वो है जो इंडिविजुअल का सीखने का एक्सपीरियंस, लर्निंग एक्सपीरियंस फ्रॉम हिज बर्थ टिल हिज डेथ को डिस्क्राइब करता है और एक्सप्लेन करता है. The definition given by L.D. Crow and Alice Crow describes educational psychology as that area of the curriculum through which one can study the development of an individual in terms of his learning achievement during his lifespan. How he goes on learning as a result of interaction with his environment and how he can learn effectively is covered by educational psychology. According to Peel, educational psychology is the science of education. It is the consideration which lead E.A. Peel to define and describe educational psychology as the science of education. That is, a discipline which can be used to improve the process and products of education in a scientific way. Educational psychology is mainly meant for solving the practical problems related to the field of education, especially the process of teaching and learning. Now, aims of educational psychology. First one is educational psychology studies heredity, growth and maturation, environmental influences, language and thinking, development of intelligence and the process of socialization in relation to their effect on the child as a learner. पहला एम क्या होता है कि पहला एम जो एजुकेशनल साइकोलॉजी का है वो स्टडी करता है हेरिडिटी, ग्रोथ, मैच्यूरेशन, इन्वायरमेंट का जो इन्फ्लुएंस है, जो चाइल्ड का लैंग्वेज और थिंकिंग है, उसका इंटेलिजेंस को जो डेवलप करता है और उसका प्रोसेस ऑफ सोशलाइजेशन. सेकेंड वन इज एजुकेशनल साइकोलॉजी स्टडीज learning and the educative process. Experts not only examine the several theories of learning but also the techniques of learning, skills and problem solving. We know that effective management of learning involves both input and output. Measuring what the learner has learned attempts to measure children's learning last to the development of tests and other evaluation techniques. Teacher-pupil interaction has significant effect on pupils' learning. For this process, much of the educational psychologist work is aimed at teaching teachers how best to help their people learn more effectively both in and out of class. The development of positive attitudes toward learning is another objective of educational psychology. Teachers generally adopt reinforcement and other techniques to encourage positive attitude among learners to learning. Conducting research is another major objective of educational psychologists. Educational psychology not only encourages research but also aims at applying research findings in the learning situation. Educational psychology gives a teacher a sense of direction in his or her own work. It helps the learner to relate more effectively with the teacher. Now, nature of educational psychology. Educational psychology possesses a well organized, systematic, and universally accepted body of facts supported by the relevant psychological laws and principles. It is constantly in search of the truth, that is, the studying of the behavior of the learner in relation to his educational environment. The results of any educational psychology can be challenged and are modified or attained in terms of the latest explanations and findings. It employs scientific methods and adopts a scientific approach for studying the learner's behavior. The process and products of these studies are sufficiently scientific as a high degree of logical validity, objectivity, relatability, validity as maintained in carrying out the study and research in the field of educational psychology. Educational psychology does not accept Educational psychology does not accept hearsay and does not anything for granted. It emphasizes that essentially there is some definite cause linked with the behavior, and cause of this behavior are not related to supernatural phenomena. Educational psychology is the most concerned of happening in the present instead of caring for the past. It is positive science rather than a narrative science, and like the sciences, it does not concern itself with the values and the ideals. The generalization arrived and conclusion reached through the study of educational psychology are sufficiently reliable, and thus, like the sciences, this can be used for predictions of behavior in similar situations. Now, scope of educational psychology. Educational psychology is a behavioral science which helps us to attain the real values of life. It is a lawmaker science which has accepted the principles of psychology and implemented it in fields of education. Educational psychology has great importance in the field of education because it studies about the behavior of man from infancy to adulthood. In the year 1945, the Scientific Bench of America created a society for deciding the scope of educational psychology. After the survey, educational psychology was decided as follows. So, the scope of educational psychology is our human development, the scientific study of different stages of human development, comprises of a stage of development, personality, individual difference, and provide guidance to them on basis of it. Learning. It comprises of the learning activities of child. It includes theory of learning, learning transfer, components and habits of learning, personality and adjustment, measurement and examination, learning methods. Other than this, Douglas and Holland throw light on the scope of educational psychology. The scope of educational psychology can be written as following in this order and manner. The important fields are heredity and environment, physical, mental, emotional and social development of child, learning ideologies and learning transfer, intelligence and its measurement, individual difference, mental health, personality and its measurement and adjustment, creativity and its measurement, education of special children, thinking, logical and problem solving, measurement and examination, learning methods, social psychology. Now the another topic which we have is how educational psychology plays an important role in the life of primary school teachers. What is a teacher acts as a philosopher and a guide to the students? He must know the growth and development of the child and his requirement at different level. Educational psychology helps the teacher to study the ability, interest, intelligence, needs and adopt different techniques of teaching for effective communication. The utility of educational psychology for the teachers has been emphasized in both theory and practices of teaching and learning. The important aspects of educational psychology for a teacher can be divided into two aspects: to study teaching and learning situations and application of teaching and learning principles. So, the first we'll deal with the first one, to study teaching and learning situation. Educational psychology contributes a lot for increasing the teaching efficiency of the teacher in different areas mentioned below. Individual difference. A teacher has to deal carefully with a group of students in classroom situations, as there are wide variations in different abilities among the students. To know the classroom teaching learning process, a well developed theory of classroom teaching and learning is blissful for transacting the context to the students effectively. Awareness of effective methods of teaching. The method of teaching is based on the developmental characteristics of the students. For example, history is taught effectively to small children with the help of storytelling method. Curriculum development. The course of study of particular degree or diploma is prepared by teachers to study mental health of students. In the process of teaching and learning activities in the classroom, mental health of the teacher and the students plays a significant role. Guidance to the students. A teacher has to play different roles in school: as a guide, as a philosopher, as a leader. The knowledge of psychology enables the teacher to provide necessary educational and vocational guidance to the students of different age groups. Now, the next part is applications of teaching learning process. The objectives of education. Education is a purposive attempt to bring about desirable changes. The second one is use of audio visual aids in teaching. Then it is co-curricular activities. Then preparation of timetable, democratic administration. The study of educational psychology is thus very useful for planning, organizing and evaluating the teaching learning activities in the class. Now, what are the contributions of educational psychology in the field of learning? 6 major contribution areas covered by educational psychology are: first one is the learner. Educational psychology acquaints us with the need of knowing the learner and deals with the techniques of knowing him well. The learning process. After knowing the learner and deciding what learning experiences are to be provided, the emerging problem is to help learner in acquiring these learning experiences with ease and confidence. The third is learning situation. Educational psychology also deals with the environmental factors and learning situations which come midway between the learner and the teacher. The fourth is teaching situation. Educational psychology also suggests the techniques of teaching. Fifth is evaluation of learning performance. Main objective of education is all-round development of the learner. It includes cognitive, affective and psychomotor aspects of personality. The teacher. Educational psychology emphasis on the essential personality traits, interests, attitudes, the characteristics of effective teaching, etc. of a teacher. So this one is for much is enough for the educational psychology. Now we will go through our another topic. The next topic is principles of behaviorism or theories of behaviorism. In this topic we will go through 3 principle of frequency, principle of recency and principle of conditioning, and we will also go through the different types of methods. So, behaviorism. John B. Watson put forward an entirely new doctrine named behaviorism, which was quite contrary to structuralism and functionalism. He concluded that the whole idea of consciousness is absurd. Consciousness can't be proved by any scientific texts, for consciousness cannot be seen, touched, or inhabited in a test tube. Even if it exists, it can't be studied scientifically because, admittedly, it is a subject only to private inspection. Therefore, if we intend to make a psychology a science of behavior, we should concentrate only on the measurable and observable behavior. Behaviorism, as a method of studying behavior, focused its attention totally on the observable behavior. Thus, a behaviorist is interested in the feeling of fear but pays attention to the changes in heart rate and blood pressure, which are the effects of fear and pressure and can be measured. The theories of behaviorism propagated by Watson are principle of frequency, principle of recency, and principle of conditioning. Principle of frequency. In the famous experiments of his Watson with an 11-month-old baby named Albert, he conditioned the baby's behavior to form a rat. He concluded that behavior is merely response to some environmental stimulus. How we behave and why we behave in a particular way can be demonstrated and explained through body formation. Principle of recency. According to Watson, when a person is satisfied after doing a work, he does the same work frequently. But when a child is in mood of learning and he is taught the same topic again and again, he loses his interest in it. So the newness of the subject should be considered. And principle of conditioning. In his classical experiment, Pavlov conditioned a dog to salivate at the sound of a bell. By substituting the sound for the sight and smell of meat, concluded that all behavior is a response to some stimulus in the environment. So, the methods of studying child behavior. There are three methods of studying child behavior. They are observation method, interview method, and case study. Now, first we will deal with observation method. Aim is to know the man's behavior by observing him. Meaning, the usual meaning of observation is to look something carefully. We can guess about man's behavior by looking upon his work, his reactions, his altitudes, etc. carefully. Example, when a person is speaking loudly, we can say he is angry. According to Kolsing, observation is of two types, formal behavior and informal behavior. Merits of observation method. Development of students in correct and right path. Required changes can be done in aims of education, curriculum, etc. Accepted changes in school. Useful for child study. Demerits of observation method. Indisciplined behavior of students. Fake conclusion. Lack of self-confidence. Lack of behavioral discipline and unfaithfulness. Conclusion. It is true that observation method has demerits, but it is not correct to not believe on it for teachers and psychologists. Interview method. With the help of this method, psychologist tries to know about the student's interest, skills, and attitudes. In this interview method, the trained teacher and the psychologist ask the student in front of them personally or in a small group. After they get the answers from the student, they decide about the student's interest and feelings and get a conclusion. This method is used by psychologists to study about children who have adjustment problems, and it also helps in educational and business lessons to students. Educational psychologist has divided the interview method in two parts, structured interview and unstructured interview. Those interview in which subjects are decided before is called structured interview. Unstructured interview. Those interview in which nothing is pre-decided is called unstructured interview. Merits of interview method. Educational behavior and educational problems are studied directly. Direct questions are asked. In this method, gesture, way of expressing joy, the way of speaking, etc. are observed. Demerits of interview method, wastage of more time and money. Viewers is always suffering from preconception. Bewildering of students during interview. Some special qualities of the candidate can be learned. Reaching to conclusion through gesture and special question. Conclusion. Despite of several demerits in the interview method, it is very used mostly by the educational psychologist. Now third one is case study method. The other name for this method is clinical method. In this method, educational psychologists study about the students who find difficult to adjust and to those who are distracted. With the help of this method, the behavior of the criminal child is also studied. The emotional problem of student is also studied successfully through this. In this method, to study about the problems of child, history of child is prepared. The following factors are considered while making the report of child: primary information. Under this, the name, age, gender, age of parents, education, profession, social status, number of family members are listed of the child. Post history. In this, the complete briefing is done from the infancy to present age. It includes condition of a pregnant mother, situation at the time of birth, physical injuries, incidents, some disease at childhood, etc. Present age stage. The intelligence level of child at present stage, his hobby, his interest, his aptitude, emotional level, facts related to school, achievement comes under this. From the above method, we can obtain information about the child's problem and can also solve it. So the base for this clinical method is case study. Merits. With the help of this method, deep study of child is possible. With the help of the clinical method, the mental and physical development of child can be understood. The problem of child and the reason behind it is known directly to psychology. Demerits: excess need of labor, time and resources, lack of truth, lack of impartiality. Conclusion: with the help of this method, educational psychologists have direct impact on unadjustable children. So this is enough for the behaviorism theology. Now we will go through the another topic. The another topic which we will cover today is learning. So what is learning? The factors influencing learning, meaning of learning, its characteristics. So let's start. Learning occupies a very important place in our life. Most of what we do or do not do is influenced by what we learn and how we learn it. Learning therefore provides a key to the structure of our personality and behavior. An individual starts learning immediately after his birth, or in a strict sense, even earlier in the womb of mother. Experience, direct or indirect, is found to play a dominant role in molding and shaping the behavior of the individual from the very beginning. In this way, the term learning, broadly speaking, stands for all those changes and modifications in the behavior of the individual which he undergoes during his lifetime. So, what is learning? Learning stands for all the changes and modifications in the child or in the learner which he undergoes during his lifetime is defined as learning. The definitions of learning is given differently by different psychologists. Some few of them are according to Gardner Murphy. The term learning covers every modification in behavior to meet environment requirements. According to Crow and Crow, learning is the acquisition of habits, knowledge and attitudes. It enables one to satisfy interest to attain goals. According to Hilgard, learning is a process by which an activity originates or is changed through reaching to an encountered situation. According to Henry P. Smith, learning is the acquisition of new behavior or the strengthening and weakening of old behavior as a result of experience. According to Kimble, learning is a relatively permanent change in behavioral potentiality that occurs as a result of reinforced practice. The factors affecting or influencing learning are described below. Let's go through the points. Learner's physical and mental health. Learning is greatly affected by learner's physical health and mental health. If a learner is not well physically or mentally, either he is sick, his mental condition is not good, he cannot learn to the point he has to learn. The second one is types of subject content. A learner is helped by the variable resources for bringing desirable changes. Availability of appropriate learning material and facilities like teaching and learning aids, textbooks, library, laboratory facilities, project work helps a lot for the learner to learn new things. The basic potential of the learner. The basic potential of learning of the learner affects learning to a great extent. It affects it broadly. The interest of the learner, the attitude of the learner, the capacity, the ability, the intelligence, the specific knowledge really affect learning. The level of aspiration and achievement, motivation, appropriate environment, maturity, methodology of learning. Methodology of learning consists of linking the recent learning with those of the past. It is very important that we should link the current learning to that of the past knowledge, correlating learning in one area with that of the another area, utilization of maximum number of senses, revision and practice. The selection of the suitable learning methods and teaching. Now, characteristics of learning. Learning is a process unique to each individual. Some learn quickly, scanning the information and mastering the concept or skill seemingly effortlessly. Others stumble while processing learning, taking longer to grasp the concept of requiring numerous exposure over a sustained time. Characteristics of learning are: learning involves change. It is a reconstruction, combined thinking, skill, information, and appropriation in a single unity process. All learning involves activities. The activities involve either physical or mental activity. Learning requires interaction. Constitute learning. Learning is a lifelong process. Learning occurs randomly throughout the life. Learning involves problem solving. Learning is the process of acquiring information. Learning involves for more than thinking. Experience is necessary for learning. Now we can conclude it like learning is a continuous process followed by an individual that allows for the acquisition of information, attitudes and practices through observation, seeking previous knowledge, searching out guides and looking within as well or as without. It is a It is a key process in human behavior. Now, the another topic which we will go through is growth and development. It is the most important topic of this chapter, and one question is for sure from this topic. So, change is the law of nature. Animate or inanimate objects are all subject to change. Animate objects are distinguished from inanimate objects chiefly by their potentiality to maintain the flow and cycle of life. Seeds, after germinating in the soil, grow as saplings and then specific plants or trees, which in turn flower and produce seeds or fruits for further germination. As far as the human being is concerned, life starts with the conception in the mother's womb. As a result of the process of fertilization of the ovum, the mother of the fertilization of the ovum of the mother by the sperm cell of the father. The mother wombs then become the site and the mean for growth and development of human life, and it is only after about 9 months that the baby is able to come into the world as a newborn. The period spent in the mother's womb is termed as prenatal period and is usually not included in the computation of one's chronological age. In all animals, including human beings, the prenatal period resembles the time taken by a germinating seed to come out of the soil, which then grows and develops into a full-fledged plant or tree. The process by which a germinating seed or a conceived organism is turned into the mature plant or a full-fledged human being are collectively termed growth and development. The process of growth and development are thus the medium and the means for bringing about changes in the organism. In general, they refer to the changes produced by the interaction of one's genetic and environmental factors, as well as the changes in the physical, mental, social, emotional, and moral aspects involving one's individuality. Growth. The term growth denotes a net increase in the size or mass of the tissue. It is largely attributed to the multiplication of cells and increase in the intracellular substance. What is growth? We can define growth as the increase in the size or in the mass. It is the multiplication of the cell. Growth refers to a dimensional augmentation, cellular multiplication, or quantitative change in size and weight. The main reason of the structural change of a man is his relation with the environment. Some of the definitions for growth according to different psychologists are: according to Sorensen, growth refers to development of body and body parts with respect to size and weight, which can be measured. According to Hurlock, growth is change in size in proportion, disappearance of old features and acquisition of new ones. Development. Development involves a series of progressive, orderly, and meaningful changes leading to the goal of maturity. It refers to overall changes resulting in improved function. It is a change in structure and shape and improvement in functioning and behavior. Development does not happen at once but is a slow and continuous process. It is internal and can be social, emotional, and intellectual. Development is quite complex and difficult to measure. According to Hurlock, development means a progressive series of changes that occur in an orderly, predictable pattern as a result of maturation and experience. According to J. Anderson, development is concerned with the growth as well as those changes in behavior which results from environmental situations. According to Liebert, Paulus, and Marmer, development refers to a process of change in growth and capability over time as a function, both maturation and interaction with the environment. Friends, see here in almost every question I have given some quoted words or quoted definitions by the different psychologists. I request you to learn at least two to three or few of them so that you can put it in your examination paper. The quoted words or the definitions give a good impact on the examiner and it helps you to score more. Basically, what the question we usually get from growth and development is differentiate between growth and development. So let's go through the differentiation between growth and development. You can write it by making a table format. One side you write growth and the another one side you write development. The first point, the term is used in purely physical sense. It is generally refers to increase in size or length, whereas development implies overall change in shape, form, structure resulting in improved working or functioning. Growth changes in the quantitative aspects come into the domain quantitative aspects. Development changes is the quality or character rather than the quantitative aspects. Growth is a part of developmental process. Development in its quantitative aspect is termed as growth. Development is a comprehensive and wider term and it refers to the overall changes in the individual. Growth does not continue throughout life, it stops when maturity has been attained. Development is a wider and comprehensive term and refers to overall changes in the individual. It continues throughout life and progressive. Growth involves body changes, development involves changes of an orderly, coherent type tending towards the goal of maturity. Growth The changes produced by growth are the subject of measurement, they may be quantified. Development implies improvement in functioning and behavior and hence bring qualitative changes which are difficult to be measured directly. Growth is cellular, it takes place due to multiplication of cells. Development is organizational, it is organization of all the parts which growth and development have produced. Growth may or may not bring development. Development is also possible without growth. Principles of growth and development. There are few principles. Principle of continuity. Development follows continuity. It goes from womb to tomb and never ceases. All individuals start his life from a tiny cell, develops his mind and body. Principle of individual difference. Individual difference in the development remains constant. Principle of an orderly development, uniformity of pattern, principle of interaction, maturation and learning, principle of unique development, principle of differential development, principle of interrelated development, principle of cumulative development, principle of interaction of heredity and environment, principle of spiral and not linear. So, this is all for the second paper, foundation paper 2. I request you to go through the PDFs which are provided in the channels to get more and more of the answers. Thank you and hope this class works good for you and help you in the coming examination. All the best for your exams. Thank you.